What's up? And welcome back to the Weekly Bugle podcast, where I am one of your hosts, Tyler.
And I am your other host, Jesse.
And just a real quick, we didn't record last week. I had a little bit of family in town. They're still in town, but we thought we should get these episodes out because Loki, it's been good.
That's an understatement. It's been really good.
You think
And
so?
this, oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, since we missed last week, we will be packing two episodes in one. So we'll be discussing episode two of Loki pretty briefly, mostly focusing on episode three, because that's probably what everyone's wanting to hear about right now. But I went back and I watched episode two a little bit, and there were some neat little threads. And when you have seen episode three, knowing what's in that episode two, there's some interesting little details in there that I didn't really catch the first time around. So we have a little bit to talk about.
So before we get too far into it, I was thinking, I I'm not enjoying like number one. We talked about number one, and it was the best premiere out of all the three, as in WandaVision and Falcon and Winter Soldier. But then 2 and 3 came, and I was kinda let down, I feel.
I've heard other people say similar things. I would say two I felt was a really good episode. That got me pretty intrigued. There was a good bit of action. It felt more up tempo compared to the first one. The third one had, I guess the ending felt a little bit underwhelming, but it also leaves a lot to talk about.
See, I was completely opposite. I thought that the ending was the best part, and not because it ended, but a little bit of how it ended versus and I thought the middle was, like, kind of like, this is the first time while watching the Marvel shows that I pulled my phone out, and I was like, "Let me see what's trending on Twitter." Or
Really?
yeah, like, I pulled it out, especially during the train scene. Like,
Oh yeah, okay. When they're talking,
not when they're talking, but when, like, he's singing, like, I felt that singing went on way too long.
I would agree. The singing did go on long. I liked the scene itself and like everything in the train, but yeah, the drunken singing, it did go on longer than I would have liked. I don't know if there was a purpose behind that
I don't either.
because he was singing in a different language, so I don't know
Asgardian.
if yeah, so I don't know.
Is it
I don't know
I
what he's saying, so
wait,
it
so
could
hold
be.
on. You're saying you don't speak Asgardian?
Do you?
No, I thought you did. This is a Weekly Bugle first, that neither one of us speaks the language.
Yeah.
It's also the
Well,
first that they've spoken a different language.
occasionally he would speak a little bit of English, like during the chorus of the song.
Yeah,
Something about go home. I don't know, but regardless, I do feel like there were some things that just didn't really click, I guess, in episode three, but I still
mhm.
liked it. Like, there were some things that I really liked, and then there were areas that I felt could have been improved. The singing was one. I do feel like the cinematography was really good, like the purple hue over everything, and like the planet or the
And
moon
then
crashing into the planet.
especially the what it looks to be one shot, one take
Yeah,
at the
there
very
may have
end.
been some clever edits
There was definitely clever
because,
edits.
like, when
I
they
could
were
you can
covered in
look at it.
smoke.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
can look at it and see, but the way the cinematography, like you said, it makes it look like it's one take. Which I was talking to I don't know if who I was talking to, but I was talking to somebody, and you know, I love when a show or a movie does like a one take kind of like that. But I feel like they're becoming, oh, this is really cool. Let's just throw this in. Like, remember
Yeah.
the first time you watched Daredevil and they did the one take hallway scene and it's just
Yeah.
rotating? You got super hyped. Like, you're like, "Oh my god, this is the best." But now, like, it's it's cool, but, like, I wasn't super hyped behind it, but I liked it, though. I'm not, like, discounting it all, but just compared to, like, where it was 5, 6 years ago compared to where it is now.
Yeah, it may I can't tell if it was one or two things because it almost kind of felt like an afterthought sort of deal. Like, it was very well shot moving through and, where the cuts happen. It was very well, like, presented and
Mhm.
shot, but I don't know, it just didn't really connect with me. Like, sometimes I'll be like, "Oh, this is all one shot," and I'm, like, really impressed, and I'm really getting into it. Where this one, I was like, "Oh, that's cool," but it didn't really get me, and I don't know if it's because, like you were saying, that thing has kinda worn thin, it's not as
It's, like,
impressive anymore,
oversaturated.
and I don't know if or maybe it was because I could recognize where the cuts probably were, that I was like, "Okay, this probably isn't truly all
One
one shot,"
Yeah.
for a long stretch of time. So I don't know, maybe nothing crazy was going on. I mean, it was neat that they were still throwing in, like, some CGI, like, when Loki's throwing his, like, green blast, and
blast,
there was
which
at
is
one
new.
point he does, like, a telepath or, like, a time rewind thing. Remember when that tower's falling?
Yeah,
And
which
he's
I haven't seen that him do that either.
I
So
was surprised, yeah.
both
It's
of
like,
those
"Oh,
moves I haven't recognized. I don't know if either one is in Dark World because I'll be the first to say I turned it off. As soon as Loki
yeah."
died, I turned it off.
Well, he
And
comes back. But
yeah,
yeah.
no, I know, but he fakes his death, and
Mhm.
I turned it off at that point. But from there on, I don't know what's in Dark World. So for him to kind of freeze time, like Doctor Strange esque,
Yeah,
I
with the
thought was
time
really
stone.
cool.
That's what I thought.
And then him like those little like beams, like you were saying, were kind of cool too. But I've never seen him do that before.
The blasts I've seen him do before in, like, games and comics. The time rewinding, I mean, I may just not be familiar enough with Loki from the comics, but, yeah, that's a new thing because 'cause we've seen him, like, levitate things, like, in that fight in episode 2, he was able to, telekinetically
Well,
pull something towards him, but the way that that tower went back in and it, like, reformed itself, like, I thought maybe he was just lifting it and moving it,
that's what I was going to say. Maybe it
but
wasn't teleporting. Maybe
but
he
it
was just
looked like
moving.
the bricks went back into place,
Yeah.
like, when Strange does it and just rewinds time. So,
Regardless,
that
though, it was cool.
it was cool. Yeah, it was definitely neat, and it was kinda it's cool thinking about them filming those sort of things too, where Tom Hiddleston's running around and he's just gonna, straighten up and act like he's mentally doing something
I
with the
think
tower that he can't see.
imagine being a cameraman. Like I think I'd lose it. Like you're like, you're going, and then Hiddleston just freezes. Like
Yeah.
you just stop.
It does look silly, like, I know they've shown, like, for the CW, when they do, like, with Supergirl, like, when she's about to
To
fly
fly,
and
or when
they
Flash
show
takes off
the
running.
Flash or when he has to do, like, air wind tunnels. Have you
Yeah.
seen that? He just does this, yeah. Yeah, it's hilarious. So it's funny to think of these things filmed. I'm sure as a cinematographer or, like, somebody who's, doing the camera work,
Hmm.
I'm sure it's probably funny the first time, but then once you've done that same scene, like, 20, 30 times, especially if it's one take,
Yeah.
probably just ready to be done with it.
So I guess since we're starting in three, we kind of like this podcast is kind of weird because we're starting at the end of three. I guess we should just kind of
Well,
continue pushing like
we
that
can
way.
talk about, a couple things, I guess. Sorry, I grabbed my
Well,
notes.
that's
But,
what I'm saying. Like we might as well just continue with three and then work backwards. Like this will be really different.
or I can talk we can talk about 2. Like, I
Okay.
have some notes on there.
Well, let's jump back
Um,
to two then.
maybe we could jump back to 3. There's some so there is one part in 3 that I think we should discuss, and then maybe we'll just bounce around this episode between the 2 and treat them like one episode.
Yeah.
So, one of the interesting things that's discussed in episode 3 is the Time Variance Authority and their origins. Specifically, Sylvie says that uh, everyone that works there was originally a variant. They weren't born there the way Mobius thinks that they were, the way that he said that that's his origin in
Hmm.
episode 2. So, knowing that, it brings up some different questions, and it's very interesting because Mobius, we now know, must be a variant in some way, and everybody that's there
Everybody. Yeah.
because at the beginning of episode 3 you see that one um, Minutemen woman that was captured by Sylvie, and she's enjoying margaritas or whatever before she was a variant. And the reason I want to bring that up is because we keep in episode 2 they spend a lot of time with Mobius and his jet ski fantasy, or he's always reading about jet skis and
Yeah.
Loki's asking him about it, and they spend a good bit of time talking about it. So now with the knowledge that Mobius is
Her
a
name is
variant,
Hunter C20.
Hunter C20, yeah. But knowing that Mobius is a variant, it makes me wonder if that jet ski ties into his lifestyle before he was part of the TVA. I don't
So
know how it ties in yet, but oh, go ahead.
so we see him drinking that drink all the time. Maybe he is like the founder of that drink, and wherever that drink was created or what universe it was created. Because you said you'd heard of it or seen it before.
Yeah, and I had seen people talking about it
I,
online. It was Josta. I
yeah,
never
I've
experienced it in real life, but apparently I think it was from the 90s. And I
so maybe
believe when he was talking about jet skis, he was talking about that being from the early 90s as well. He
so
mentioned the
that's
early
what I'm saying.
90s.
Maybe what time era? So you're saying 90s.
Hmm.
he was like maybe like the founder of that dream, and so he had wealth to him. And what do wealthy people do? They ride jet skis. So
I guess that's
maybe
true.
maybe
Yeah,
like that's a hobby he had, and that's just his way of clinging to it because he finds it comforting. I think he said.
I could see that. Yeah, I don't know if Josta specifically, but I do think it's at least saying that that he's, I don't know, I guess comfortable with the 90s, or that
Hmm.
he prefers that time era. So I would guess that maybe Mobius at some point in the 90s was when he branched off into his own timeline, was taken by the TVA, and
That
was transitioned.
that brings up another question. How do they select? I mean, I'm sure we're gonna get the answer to this, but how
Hmm.
do they select the people they want to create? Not create, but bring into the TVA. Like, what
Yeah,
qualities did Mobius and C20 and the fish guy have that were like, you know what? I like that tenacity. Let me bring him into my organization. Like, I don't know. Like, did that question ever arise to you, or is that just me?
yeah, I thought about that too, and I have a theory because in episode one, Loki, after seeing the judge, was being dragged off somewhere, presumably to be erased from the
Yes.
timeline. But what I'm thinking is maybe they don't erase you, or maybe they can, or they can mind wipe you and kind of give you the perception that you've always been with the TVA or something like that.
Oh, that's a good
S-
one.
So I was thinking maybe, Mobius would assume, oh yeah, he's gonna be taken away, or maybe he'll be transitioned into a TVA. Mobius may not be aware of what exactly happens beyond the courtroom, so maybe he thinks it's death. Maybe that is an option, but
Maybe
also,
maybe we expand it, and each time somebody gets like disintegrated or whatever, they
mhm,
just kind of get removed from that part and put into like maybe like I don't want to say like a warehouse or like a sleep tank or something like that until they needed to kind of join the TVA. Like remember in the first episode that one guy who didn't have his ticket, they just kind of
oh
like
yeah,
erased him. I don't know what I forget the name they call it. Uh but and then they just kind of put him into a tank or something until they're ready to use them
they could.
for the
I wouldn't be
TVA.
surprised if it's like one of two things: either you get pruned and erased.
Prune, that's the word I was looking
Pruned?
for.
Okay. Yeah, so maybe you get disintegrated, just wiped, or maybe they're like, we could use this guy. Why don't we maybe do like a sleep tank thing, or scope,
Mhm.
put him through some sort of, I don't know, mind wipe scenario where now
Yeah.
he believes he's part of the TVA. Because Mobius, when Loki asks him if he, what his origins are, Mobius doesn't really seem to be too sure. He kind of, hand waves it off like nobody's, birth sounds like smarter. It always sounds weird. So he
Yeah,
can't remember his life early.
because he, like, brought to the point where, like, you're raised by Asgardians and a mythologist some kind of mythology
Mythological.
yeah, world where your
Mhm.
father's Odin's son and you're actually adopted and and he's like, "Now how fake does that sound?" Like,
Yeah.
so I know exactly what you mean. That's in episode 2.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
I think we
So
should just for the audience sake, we should probably clarify, like, this is episode 2, this is episode 3 since we're kinda jumping back and forth.
that's true. Yeah. Well, right now I'm mostly talking about episode 2, is this conversation that Loki and
Yeah.
Mobius are having. But yeah, it makes me think that since time probably doesn't really move in the TVA moves through time. So
Mhm.
you wouldn't really see yourself age, I'm guessing. So whatever age
Makes
you
sense.
are that you come into the TVA, that's just what you
Stay.
always are. Yeah, that's what I'm assuming. So maybe if you're somebody who gets mind wiped, put into the TVA, maybe you just assume like this is just like I'm
This is
born
life.
in this way,
Yeah.
maybe. I don't know. So that's what I'm guessing could be going on. I don't know what would have happened to Loki. Maybe they would have just been done with him and disintegrated him, or maybe he would have just been mind wiped and thrown into the TVA also. But I think they also said that they've dealt with a lot of Loki
Yeah, remember
variants.
they even showed, like, a little, like, hologram of, like, one was a troll and one was,
Hmm.
like,
A soccer
different
player, and
yeah.
there was the
Which
blue one, which was kind of cool. Him just a straight up frost giant.
make it when you did you notice that, the female Loki, Sylvia, whatever,
Sylvie.
Sylvie?
Hmm.
Damn. One of her Loki horns is broken. I wonder if that's something metaphorish that we're just not catching.
Yeah, I
Because she's
don't
like, "Don't
know.
call me Loki anymore." So, like, Loki's known for his horns. Maybe she, broke it when she abandoned the Loki title name.
There must be a story behind it and it breaking. I don't know if we'll ever learn it. Maybe it's just meant to be there to be symbolic of her kind of like breaking off from the Loki name, kind of being like a
Mhm.
half and half because
Yeah.
she is a Loki, but she's changed her name. They've also said that she's the inspiration for her character from the comics is Lady Loki and also Enchantress. That's why she can do like
Mind tricks.
the mind thing, yeah. So she's kind of a hybrid in different ways. So I think maybe, the broken one horn could be symbolic for that.
Mhm.
That may be reaching. I don't know. But yeah, I'd be curious to see if there is a story behind what exactly happened with that.
Yeah, I noticed it because I spent big chunk of 3 watching, like, trying to see is her horn broken because it looked like at some points, and I don't know if it was just the lighting, but you couldn't tell on every single time.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely one is broken. I think it's been broken the entire time.
Another thing I wanted to talk about was, their backstories they talked a little bit about. We all know Loki's backstory, how he's adopted, and he found out he's adopted, but and his mom died. Her mom died, she didn't get to know her mother, but they told her she was adopted, unlike Loki. Do you think that's, like, a big deal to like, that's gonna come back later? Because he was like, "Oh, I mean, they told me too, but, when they were ready."
Yeah, I know Loki felt so betrayed in the movies, having found out that he was adopted,
Mhm.
just by kind of circumstance and finding out his own way. So I'm sure he felt that if Sylvie was told up front that maybe, this alternate timeline, her parents are more trusting and more upfront, and
Upfront, yeah.
maybe she's more, tied into the family. When that was something that Loki always wanted, he never, felt really part of the family. I guess with Frigga, he was close because she was teaching him magic, but yeah,
Yeah.
nobody told him he was adopted. He had no idea, and he was never truly an Odin's son. He always felt that Thor was the favorite, and always put above Loki. So that was probably a bit of a shock to the system, like, "Oh, okay, well, it was just my parents that didn't trust me." It wasn't something they could bond on. She had the
Yeah.
better hand in that way.
I mean, but did she because her mother died at an early age. So, like, while her parents were trusting of telling her, her parents also I mean, she also didn't have a mom to teach her all the magic she knows. She had to teach
That's
herself.
true. That's true, so I guess that does in a way for the show and the storytelling, that's nice because it differentiates their powers. She had to teach herself magic, and she was able to teach, like, the enchantress type stuff, where Loki now has all the what was he calling it? It was like, just where he could help me out with the words, I'm blanking. It's,
Uh, what do you
like the projection where he could project an
Oh,
image of
yeah,
himself, or yeah, he can do all these tricks because
yeah, I
Frigga
know what
taught
you're
him.
talking about. Where you see 2 of them essentially, like what he did in Avengers with the Hulk, where or not the
Right.
Hulk, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah,
Where
he can
like
make
holocast himself, projectile, not send projectiles, but holocast himself into something or
mhm.
somewhere.
Yeah, he can make, like, a duplicate image of himself and to trick people. It does that to Thor all the time, and yeah, he
Yeah,
just basically, he has different magic from Sylvie, even though they're both technically
Loki.
Lokis.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm
which is
sure
actually
that's a
really
big
cool.
thing. Yeah, and I'm sure that's based on Frigga and how much she was able to teach or not teach in this
Mhm.
case.
Well, he even talked about how she taught him how to, like, have fireworks in his hand,
Mhm.
if you remember that.
Yeah, yeah, I thought that was really cool. Yeah, we see a lot more depth in Loki in this, which I really appreciate. So I like that about these Disney Plus shows that we really get to go deep
But
into the
did you
personality.
really need more depth in Loki, or, like, were you already attached to the character? Like, because personally, I didn't need I loved Loki for who he is. I
Hmm.
love that, no matter what, he was trying to take over and become the king of something.
Hmm.
If it was a Midgard or if it was Asgard, and he just kinda kept falling short, so I think that's what made him so special, and then at the end, he realized, "What I've had all along and, like, wanted to be a family." Like, Thor's always accepted Loki. Even when he found out he was adopted, he accepted Loki without a question. So, I think, I don't really think I needed more depth in Loki. Like, I think not to talk about another show, but I think like Bucky, you needed more depth because you in Falcon and in Winter Soldier, he's just a killing machine.
Hmm.
In Civil War, he's like running for his life because people are attempting to kill him, and then Iron Man's attempting to kill him. and then we get to Falcon and Winter Soldier, we finally get that in depth. But Loki, I kind of want to disagree that we don't need the in depth for him.
I guess so. I've appreciated it so far.
I
I've
well, I do
liked
too.
learning. I do feel like maybe the show has made me realize more how much there still is to learn about Loki. I don't know. I was never as attached to Loki as other people were throughout the
Well, I wasn't either.
Avengers. And so I kind of needed that because he showed up a lot, but he kind of had the same shtick.
Hmm.
I think I feel like maybe in Thor 1 he had the most depth because he was going through, realizing that he has a totally different father and all that betrayal, and he was really getting into the mischief. Where then afterwards it kind of felt like he was just, there to trick people or to take over the world or, and then Ragnarok, now he's funny or, it's just kind of I don't know. I didn't get a whole lot out of him, so I think this is helping me. I do feel like he's one that could use a little bit more depth
I
to him.
I
But there
can
are
agree.
definitely other characters that need it, like Drax could definitely use some more.
Drax is perfect. Don't you? We will not speak negative about Drax.
Drax needs a lot more character depth. He gets to do nothing. But I guess this
I,
is
I think
I'm
that's what
throwing
makes
this
him
off.
special. But so I don't know. Like I think I agree with you about Loki being yeah, and Thor 1 having the most depth. But
Mhm,
I think also you have to look at the writing. Like, yeah, he did have one-liners that were funny in Avengers or whatever, and then and every movie on. But I think it's also more so the audience accepting the character and like I don't want to say limitations, but the audience accepting like where Marvel plans to take this character kind of thing. And we this character might be. I'm not saying Loki is super serious in the comics, but this character might be super serious in the comics, and we're going to kind of make him a little bit funnier, make her a little bit funnier. And
mhm.
so I think with Marvel's success, they've got to like expand on people's personalities to kind of like you know everybody has their own personality, but with the success, we get to see more of each character's personality.
Yeah,
And I think
that's
that
true.
helps with the going in depth.
Yeah, gives them an opportunity to reinvent characters a little bit more too, which
100%.
I guess since we were talking a little bit about Mobius, I do want to talk a little bit more about him in episode 2 because he
Mhm.
he seems to get most screenshot. Well, yeah, I don't know that he shows up at all in episode 3,
No,
but
he wasn't. It was just, Sylvie and Loki.
but what I want to talk about is a theory that seems to be going around for episode 2, and it mostly stems from his conversation with the judge. I can't remember her name, but you know what I'm talking about, where
If
it's
you give me
just
a
him.
second, I'll get you a name.
Okay, I'll keep talking. So, but it's the scene where Mobius and the judge, she's basically called him in so that she can, you know, rail him about how he's brought Loki in and how Loki's not succeeding. Do you find a name?
Yeah, Ravonna Renslayer.
Okay. So
We just call her
Renslayer?
Renslayer,
Oh,
Renslayer.
so Renslayer, yeah. So Mobius and Renslayer are having that conversation, and Mobius seems to be harping on like, "Oh, you're is it not accountant, but analyst on the side, I think." Or
Mhm.
and there's a few different things. He brings that up a couple times, but also he's noticing objects in the room. Specifically, there's like a pen that he's like, "I didn't get you this one," and
Yeah.
specifically, there were some lines where when she hands him a drink, he sets it down not on a coaster, and she gets mad at him, and there's already, little water ring
Watermarks.
marks on there. And she gets mad at him, and Mobius says the rings were already there, and she says they're all from you, and he says must be from your other analyst or something along those lines. And the theory going around is that maybe her other analyst is another variant of Mobius. So maybe there are two Mobiuses going on. And in which case, those lines that I mentioned in particular would make sense because maybe the rings were already there and maybe they all were from him, as she said. So maybe these two variants both act in the same way, not using a coaster, and both Renslayer and Mobius are correct in that moment. So yeah, knowing that the variants do end up in the TVA, if Mobius has had two variant situations, then yeah, maybe he's a double analyst in some way.
That's like so. I since we didn't watch record the podcast last week, I didn't watch until Sunday, and I didn't look at any Loki reviews, any Loki theories or anything like that. So that one's actually like really cool. I didn't think about that. Um, Christina, my fiance, she when she was talking to Renslayer or Mobius was talking to Renslayer, Christina was like, I have a gut feeling that the timekeepers aren't real, and she's calling the things, calling all the
Oh,
shots.
that would be interesting.
And I thought that would be a cool twist too. I'm not sure how sure that is. I feel like Marvel would probably go the variant routes you just mentioned,
Hmm.
but the fact because nobody's met the timekeepers, only she got to meet the timekeeper because they're always so quote unquote busy.
Right.
It just kind of like it was a theory she threw out like right there as soon as it happened.
That would be interesting. Maybe there is something going on with the timekeepers. And in the comics, Renslayer, I believe, is dating Kang, or at one point did date Kang. So
Mm,
who knows if maybe this is leading into some sort of mischievousness with Kang. I'm not sure. I know
interesting,
there's still
interesting.
the theory about him being a timekeeper.
Timekeeper.
Still not sure that I'm on that one. But I do see that they always zoom in on the face of that middle
N-
timekeeper.
Yeah. Do
And
you
I
do you still think that's on purpose, or do you think that's just the cinematography just happens to be that way?
It could be, I don't know, but they zoom in so much. Like that there's always the end credit scene where they have, just the center one. It's not a zoomed out shot of them three, it's
Just
zoomed
the
in
one.
on the center
Do you
one.
think it's because, like, literally, like, when you do it, you have one person here, and they're, like, a little further back? It's not necessarily, like if they were, like, panning, I think it'd be different, but the
Yeah.
fact that they're right on, that's why sorry
Yeah.
for the visual audience.
Yeah, when
But
it's just the center one, it makes because that same conversation with Renslayer and Mobius, that shot opens with it zoomed in on the center one, and then
mhm,
it pulls out to then show like Renslayer and Mobius. So again, it was another focus shot on that center one, which I can see what people are saying because that's supposed to be asked, the timekeeper asked, and
or it's
it
an
doesn't
ass or ass.
uh, with a T. But, it doesn't fully look like her. I looked it up online, and I can see what people are saying. It doesn't actually look like her face. Like, the other 2 were, like, dead ringers from the comics, but she
It's kinda different. So
yeah,
maybe okay, this just hit me, alright? Just let me
okay.
roll with it. Maybe she's Kree. Or Krill. Is it Kree or Krill that
Kree
shapeshift?
is oh, Skrull.
Skrull. Okay, maybe she's Skrull, and she shapeshifts, and that's her Skrull form.
Oh, okay. I can kinda see where you're going. There has been a lot of Skrull stuff.
And we did see a Skrull in the first episode.
Oh, that's right, there was a Skrull, yeah, being brought into the TVA
Mhm.
in the first episode. And I'm sure we'll see one by the end because 'cause they're really starting to tease into Secret Invasion, that big
Yes,
Disney Plus show. So, I mean, the other 2 Disney Plus shows both had a Skrull show up, right? There was one in Winter Soldier, wasn't there? Or am I
I think
tripping?
so. I think so.
I thought there was one. But, yeah, either way, Skrulls have been popping up.
Mhm.
So, I could see
Uh,
something like that. But, yeah, there's definitely something going on with the timekeepers. Do you think that we will see timekeepers by the end of this? Because everyone keeps wanting to meet them, but nobody gets the opportunity.
that's a great question. Um, I don't think so. Like, I think if we see them, it's gonna be for, like, a moment. So, actually, I take that back. I think we'll, as the audience, will see them, but like Loki and Sylvie, who have been beasting to see them, I don't think they'll meet them because
Hmm.
remember they were on the outskirts of the door, and
Right.
something happened, or the elevator. I think if they're real, that they don't get to meet them because
Okay.
and you don't want to have Loki meet them in the first season because especially if they're planning to go like multiple seasons, Loki's plan is to take them over. So you don't
Hmm.
want to like essentially put all your eggs in one basket in season one.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. I don't know. Some of it is just, I mean, I know these shows have a big budget, but do they have the budget to show like a big cosmic, trio of the timekeepers? And, it seems like a big visual to put in
I mean, we
towards
saw
the end.
in Endgame Tony going through space. Like, what's the difference between that and like you know in space? It's just somebody standing or like I don't know, like that's how I think of like Thanos.
Maybe.
We have Thanos. We have Ebony Maw.
But
We have.
those movies had like huge budgets, where the
Well, think of
shows.
what about like the last episode of WandaVision where they're fighting in the sky and all the
Mhm.
magic and stuff.
That's true. I mean, I'm not
And
saying that they don't put money into these and there aren't good effects, because I started this episode by saying like, oh, the planet, the moon crashing into it, really
yeah,
cool visuals.
yeah,
But I
like it,
don't know, just to me, like the scale of it's like Dormammu style.
just imagine like you that planet Lamantis that they were on, right?
Hmm.
Like if they can make something look like that, because like you don't watch, you're not a big Star Wars fan, but there's a city called Nar Shaddaa, right?
Hmm.
Like imagine like Las Vegas, but like 200 years in the future, futuristic. Like
Okay.
anything kind of goes. There's neon lights everywhere. Like I feel like that's what that place reminded me of, and I just think that if they can do something like that, like that's not a big deal to make three tall figures in robes. Because if you think about it, all we're probably going to see is like face and robes and like just a long ass robe. I
That's
don't think
true. Maybe.
I don't think like they'll probably make them like 100 feet tall. They're probably not even gonna make, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the theories that we were talking about, or that that your fiance was bringing up, that maybe there is a scenario where Loki is about to meet the Timekeepers, and then he realizes there's some big scheme going on. That yeah, it's not the Timekeepers. Maybe it's Kang. Maybe it is just the Judge Renslayer, or who knows
Yeah.
what. So it could be something nuts like that. But yeah, I feel like you introduce big cosmic entities like the Timekeepers. I don't know. I guess maybe I'm sure they could do it. It's just beyond my imagination right now. It just seems like a lot to throw in at the
Mm-hmm.
end of a show. But I
I can see
mean,
that.
totally could do it. But I guess we should keep moving
Keep it moving.
on. Let's see.
Did you have something you want to talk about? Or
You if you got something, we can talk about it.
so uh it's something kind of small, but I think it's very cool. The idea that she was hiding in apocalypses.
Yeah, I think that was really smart.
Um, because they hadn't been able to find her. And then they can't find them now because they went to Lamantis, which is another place where apocalypse is happening.
Hmm. It's
Um,
also the worst one from what she says,
that's
because
what she
it just
says,
gets
yeah.
obliterated. Yeah.
So I looked up Lamantis because I wanted to know if it was real. I'm sure plenty of us want to know if it's real or not.
Like real is in the comics, not like
Comics,
if you
yeah.
can visit this planet.
Well, I was hoping you could.
You might not want to. There's a moon that's gonna crash into it.
So Lamantis is actually biblical. Lamantis chapter 1, or in the show it's called Lamantis 1, describes the unhappiness of gloom of Jerusalem following its destruction at the hands of Babylonians. So I just thought it was kind of cool how they made it biblical, in Loki basically. Like
Yes,
they added mythology and religion to some a show.
that is interesting. I don't know what the symbolism would be for it. I'm sure. I don't know if it's just destruction, if that's
Mhm.
the
That's
primary
what I
thing.
think it is.
I'm not well versed in the Bible
Neither am I.
enough to really like pull from that and say, really pull a big, uh, metaphor from it. But that's what I'm guessing, is it's just another, and both Lamentus in the show and the Bible are places that are being destroyed.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing that's what it is. But yeah, beyond that, if it is, that's really cool though. That is a neat tie-in.
Yeah, it is. That's all I had for Lamantis. Other than that, like it
Hmm.
was just I don't know. I enjoyed 3 like I said, but it's just there were some scenes like we spoke about them already.
Yeah. Well, here, how about we tie up? I'll bring us into. We'll close out episode 2 a little bit and talk a little bit more. Focus on 3.
All right,
Because
perfect.
I guess we should talk about like a little bit of like Sylvie's plan. Why was she dropping all these recharge bombs throughout
Mhm.
the area, and what was the purpose of that? And I think seeing episode 3, uh, from what I took it, her plan was to pretty much cause a distraction. So all of these branching threats, pretty much all hands on deck from the TVA. Everybody has to leave the building, go handle all these recharge bombs or whatever, and fix that. So basically, Sylvie was able to clean house and just take a nice casual stroll through the TVA. It wasn't
Yeah,
exactly that. She
she
had to
took
fight a
out like
couple
6
guards.
people.
Yeah, and she didn't account for her magic not working there. But
Yeah.
um but yeah, and then Loki kind of interrupted that. But yeah, her plan was to just walk into the TVA and I'm guess going through those elevators because you had said C92 or I can't remember the name you gave for the
C20.
C20. She had said I guess through the elevators is how you get to the timekeepers.
Mhm.
So that was Sylvie's plan was to go through there, but yeah, Loki interrupted, so she did not get to go see the timekeepers, which brings us into Lamentus 1.
So wait, real quick, hold that thought, because I have a couple questions I wanna throw at you. So, how do you think when they created the timekeepers made the universal, like, line, right? The universal timeline. I
Mhm.
forget what they called it.
Oh, yeah, it starts with an
Uh,
S. I blank every time we show
yeah.
up here.
So when they made that and they created just one Loki, and then we've had variants of Lokis, how has she skated by for so long? Because I think they only started finding her until she started killing them off and taking their grenades.
Well,
So
yeah, I think it was through the apocalypses, was
so
she would
it was the apocalypse. Okay.
yeah, so she would go and she would, I guess, jump these Minutemen people kind of as like a trap. She would take their recharges and then escape into an apocalypse and kind of lay low there so they couldn't find her. And then she would move on to another
Okay.
place until, which then, of course, they find her in that rocks cart area. So,
Mhm.
she may have been anticipating them.
'Cause she was
Or
watching.
no, no, she was rushed because she saw them on the security camera. She was still trying to probe the mind of tell me again.
C20.
C20, yeah. She was still probing her mind, so it was a bit on the fly, this plan that she had, but needed to throw together a little bit
So
quicker.
my next question. Loki went with her. Do you think Loki is trying to play both sides and is like working with her so that he can still get the TVA under, his control? A. Do you think B, he is trying to gain more information so that he can go back to Mobius and still like, hey, look, I'm useful. Don't kill me, basically. Or C, like trying to get away from them completely just so that he can escape and kind of be rogue like her.
I think I would go with A, and tell me what you think in a little bit. But for the reason I think A in he's playing both sides is I see him as somebody who sees an opportunity and he goes with it. So the way I've interpreted his actions so far and like him going with Sylvie was that she was going somewhere and that was an opportunity. I'll go with you. I'll see if you can get to the timekeepers. Well, I guess he did stop her from making it to the timekeepers,
Yes,
which is
exactly.
true, which does make me go against that a little bit because he could have just strolled in there with her and wanted to do that. But I also don't know that he intended for them to end up at Lamentus. I think he probably wanted to
I think he just
get
picked a
more
random.
information from her. Yeah, he
Yeah,
did just pick a random one. But yeah, I don't know. I still see him as an opportunist. I think he's going to see where this whole thing with Sylvie goes and see if teaming up if they can go together, in a maybe trustworthy way, but still he holds all the cards.
see,
I think
because
if Sylvie isn't if he sees her as somebody that isn't going to get the job done, he'll probably try to take as much information or double cross her, bring her back to Mobius, or bring information to say he's going to try to save himself either which way. So I'm sure he's
one
keeping
hundred
both
percent.
options open. It's how
I
I
th-
interpret it.
when I was watching, excuse me, when I was watching it, I watching episode 2, I thought he was like, oh, he's definitely Team TVA because he's trying to stop her and stop all
Hmm.
the different people she was enchanting. So, but then after watching episode 3, you know, I felt more so that he was playing both sides. I think that he's just trying to, you know, because the entire episode he's saying like, you got to let your guard down. You got to let your guard down. Teach me like the enchantment trick, or tell me about your family. So I feel like he is trying to play both sides.
Yeah, I think so too. And I guess we could talk a little bit about. Let me see. Um, so I have sort of a theory. I'm trying to decide where exactly to start with it.
I like
So
theories.
So the way that we see everything play out is they're on the train. Sylvie falls asleep and she wakes up and Loki is, drunk, being very public and causing a
Mhm.
ruckus when they're supposed to be lying low, and he gets them thrown out of the train, and he lands on the tempath, I think is what it's called, the thing that would basically
I
let them leave
yeah.
through like the little portal that can help them time travel. So he breaks that, and that pretty much leads them to try to go find the Ark and get onto that. And of course, it ends with the Ark being destroyed, and the episode closes out with you pretty much all hope is lost at that point. So I think there are two ways, because now the question is, how are they going to get out of this one? Going into the fourth episode. So I have two theories. One is probably the lame one, probably might happen, but I kind of hope it doesn't. And that's that the TVA shows up and tries to nab them real quick and
Yeah.
bring them back, and take them from Lamentus back to the TVA and question them or do whatever at that point. I kind of hope that doesn't happen. I feel like that's an easy way to kind of like hand wave, write
Everything
it
that
off.
happened. Yeah.
Yeah, and it could make sense to keep the show moving forward. The other theory I have is maybe Loki's pulling one on her still, because we see Sylvie and Loki talking on the train, and then we get that cut where she's fallen asleep now and she wakes up, and Loki's doing all this crazy nonsense. Supposedly he's indulged in drinking too much. So I guess my question to you is, do you think he's pulling a ruse to try to get the best of her and to just really keep this going? Maybe he casts an illusion of the Tempath being broken, and maybe he's kind of done all of this on purpose. Maybe there's a functioning Tempath that he just hasn't revealed yet. What do you think?
That's something I hadn't thought about quite yet. If I'm being honest, I hadn't thought about it. I uh I think they're legit stuck right there. I don't think he's like pulling a ruse on her or anything like that. Uh I think they're just stuck, and I don't want, like you said, I don't want the TVA either to come and rescue them. I want them to, of course, live so we can
Hmm.
see more.
Yeah, well,
But
yeah,
yeah,
we got three more episodes, so they have to. But
yeah, they have. Well, I mean, unless they're all three about Mobius. The,
I wouldn't hate it. I do like Mobius a lot.
but I think we. I think I don't want the TVA to save them. I don't. I don't. I want to say Loki was pulling a quick one when he broke the little like
The
time.
device, the
Yeah, the
Tempath.
yeah the Tim path, because when he's like, "Oh, I landed on it," right?
Hmm.
Like I was like, "How do you land on something that's invisible?
It
Like not
seems
invisible."
overly comical.
Yes. So, but then at the same time, like if he was, like maybe he charged it on the train while she was sleeping, and he just made it look like he broke it so that she relies on him more.
Hmm.
But like because she had to be asleep for a while for Loki to get drunk since he's a god.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I
I
don't know
really don't.
either. I could see it going that. Maybe that would be too hand wavy too, if he's suddenly like, I tricked you, I have a way out sort of thing.
Yeah.
The whole ending of episode 3 is kind of nothing. I don't know. I don't know how they'll get out of it either. I mean, maybe even though the Ark is destroyed and is no longer able to fly, maybe it's still like the engine or something is still
Mhm.
functioning and they could charge it that way.
He did call her tech savvy.
Yeah. So I'm sure they'll find some sort of alternative. I mean, the people of Lamentus are screwed. They're
They're
not going
fucked.
anywhere.
Yeah,
Yeah, but yeah, the two Lokis, I'm sure they could figure something out.
they better.
Yeah, yeah, and I do hope that the way it resolves is that they figure it out using their wits. I
I
like
agree.
it if a story's going to write themselves into something like that. Even though there's two ways that I think the story might go, with Loki pulling a trick on her, or the TVA showing up. Thinking about it now and talking about it, I kind of hope neither of those things happen. So yeah, I'm
Mhm.
sure there's some sort of other third option that they'll find in there. But yeah, it's an interesting one. It's a good cliffhanger, and that I don't know what's
It
going to
was a
happen
great
next.
cliffhanger.
I didn't still, the ending, like you were saying, it didn't really connect with me. I didn't feel a lot of like tension to it. Like I wasn't nervous about them. It did catch me by surprise because typically in these scenes, they fight their way. They're really smart. They're going this whole one shot take, and they're gonna reach it. And they're gonna get to the arc. They're gonna charge up the 10 path, and they're gonna be gone. And I thought maybe the whole arc would be seeing them do something evil, where they're charging the 10 path and inevitably dooming the rest of Lamentus instead of helping them leave in the heroic way. So I thought that was where it was going to go. The fact that it's not doing that, I think, is interesting. So I'm glad that they shifted my expectations that way. But yeah, I don't know. I still didn't feel a lot of tension at the
So
end of this episode.
one thing you said, or one thing we've mentioned multiple times is they're an apocalypse. Like TVA can't save them right now because TVA has no idea of how to track them. Remember, they got
That's
lucky.
true.
They got
Hmm.
lucky where she was because of the gum she left.
That's right.
Uh,
Yeah,
so they can't track them right now. So the TVA can't save them. Like
that's a
they're
good
on their
point.
own. They're on their own. I just
So I
thought about that.
guess, yeah, I guess that nixes that idea. So yeah, I really don't know. Do you have any idea of how they're going to get out of it?
No, well, obviously they're gonna like have to do it themselves. I think,
Hmm.
you know, I don't know. Like I really maybe the Timpath has just enough juice if Loki actually didn't break it
Yeah,
to not go to like a different like year or something like that, but maybe push it back 10 minutes and
maybe that's true.
then they can, fight their way better, easier onto the arc then.
I don't even know if he's holding the Tempath or whatever he showed her. It almost like
Mhm.
crumbled in
Exactly, yeah,
pieces. So
that's why
I
I
guess they
said
don't have anything.
that's why I was saying, like, I think it's too fake, like, it has to be fake.
Yeah,
I don't
I,
think
I
it
do
was
feel like that too. His
mhm,
response to it too. I don't know if it was just Hiddleston playing drunk a little bit casual, or if yeah, if Loki's just kind of pulling a ruse. I
mhm,
don't know. He would have to do something good to get one over on Sylvie. So I feel like maybe, and she was
and
saying she doesn't want to go to sleep where somebody's untrustworthy is around her.
then on top of that, like, if he does save her, like, that's mega brownie points, like, "You owe
Hmm.
me now. I'm
That's
obviously the
true.
superior Loki because I've saved us from this catastrophe."
That's true too. So yeah, I don't. Yeah, it. I am happy that I don't know what's going to happen next, but I know they're
Mhm,
not going to die because there's 3 more episodes of this, so that
unless
takes
they're
a
all
little
about
bit of the
Locust
weight off. Yeah.
and
So
C20.
yeah. One other question I had about the episode is what was up with that lady with like the sonic cannon in that home? You remember?
Yeah, that was super weird, and, like, Loki tried to be her husband, but she's like, "You
Yeah.
never said that anything that nice to me."
Yeah, I don't know if there's like a story purpose or if it was just a fun scene
Fun
that they
scene. I
decided
think that was just a fun scene.
because because Sylvie shows up and the lady's just waiting there with this big ass like sonic cannon is the best way I can describe it and
Mhm.
blasts her away. So I was like, has she just been waiting by the door this whole time? I mean, everybody's trying to escape.
I
So
think
what's she
she,
doing
like,
there?
knew only, like remember when they went to the train?
Yeah.
Oh, excuse me.
Only
Sorry.
so many people could get a ticket.
And only the rich were getting tickets. So
That's
since
right.
she was,
Okay.
like she seemed more, like, poor than
That's
most
true.
people,
She wasn't
that
gonna
she
waste
just
her
kinda,
time.
like, yeah, fuck it. And then I think she was, like, on a oxygen tank too. I think I remember seeing oxygen on her face.
Maybe I don't
So,
remember. I don't think
uh,
she had. Maybe you're thinking of the cord from
like,
the
what
cannon. She was in a wheelchair.
she was in a wheelchair, but I think she had, like when they have oxygen and, like, not a whole mask, but just, like, when they have the 2 things up
Oh,
the
the
nose.
tubes.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
I
think
didn't
she had
notice. I
some.
don't remember. You
I
might be
don't
right.
I'm hoping I'm right, but I think she was, like, sickly because of wheelchair.
Yeah,
Well, not all wheelchair people are sickly, but I think she was handicapped and she was poor, so she didn't see herself surviving anyway, so I might as well stay home and protect my land. Because, hey, what happens if the moon doesn't hit?
yeah, that's true. So I guess yeah, she was just waiting it out. I don't know
Mhm,
why she would be. I guess maybe she does just didn't want to deal with any kind of raiders or thieves, or maybe
mhm.
people were acting really rambunctious. I don't know. It just seemed really out there. I'm like, what is she doing here? But they do mention it later on the train. I guess I can't remember what Loki says specifically, but he was asking Sylvie about like what she thought about that woman basically
Yeah.
just staying to die and all those things. But
Maybe
yeah, that
that's a
was an interesting
metaphor
one.
because now they're staying to die.
Maybe. I mean, yeah, it led to like a whole what is love sort of deal.
Did you
That
like his dagger, love dagger?
Not really. I was kind of with Sylvie on that one. I was like, it's a little bit long-winded.
It was super long-winded, but I was like, "Damn, love is a dagger because it can stab you." And and, like and then she's like, "So love's an invisible dagger?" And I was like, "Ouch."
Yeah.
Like, I was, like, really getting into it. I was like, "Oh, yeah. Like, I'm getting married in 10 days. Let me write these be my vows." And then but, she said it sucked, and, it sucked.
I mean, hers was love is hate, so I guess neither of them had really figured it
It
out. Do you think that's gonna be something that's gonna come back? Is by the end of this, they're gonna be like, love is, and have something like that
Where
actually
they
makes
fall in
sense
love?
and is pretty. I don't think so. That would be
Speaking
weird. I
of
was thinking about that. What if you meet your alternate self
and that's who you
and
fall in love
you're
with.
two different
So,
genders, yeah, and you end
speaking
up
of
banging?
genders and everything and banging,
Hmm.
was it super cringe that they said Loki's bi? Like, I know in the comics he's bi, but the
Oh,
fact that
is
they
he?
had
I didn't know that.
yeah, he's bi in the comics.
Okay.
But, like, when they're like, "Yeah," they're like, "You fooled around with both." And he's like, "I tend to mess around or whatever." Like,
Hmm.
I felt like that was unnecessary and cringe.
Yeah, I don't know if it was cringe. It did feel unnecessary. It was like, dude, it's like I don't know. It didn't bother me necessarily, but it did feel like maybe they were throwing something in there that they really didn't need to. It kind of feels like Disney
Unnecessary.
trying to jump, yeah, to kind of get into these things.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. It was kind of towing the line for me, but it wasn't. I don't know. It wasn't bad. It didn't like ruin anything, or didn't really.
It
It
didn't
was
ruin
kind of
yeah,
like
no.
bad, and it was done. So I was
I
okay
was
with that.
I just felt like it was unnecessary. That
It
was
was a little
unnecessary,
bit,
and they could
yeah.
have cut 2 minutes off the singing.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah, I mean,
episode
it would have been.
and the episode would have been 10 times better.
Maybe, but, you always got all these fans that are like, "I want Winter Soldier and Captain America to date. I want Winter Soldier and Winter Soldier and Falcon to date," or
Yeah.
they're into each other. So I guess maybe this is kind of like
Well, those people
we'll
don't
confirm Loki's bi, it's
those people's opinions don't matter. They're not justified.
I can kinda see some Bucky did throw some glances at Steve a couple times that made me be like, "Hmm," but
No, that's his best friend. Like,
I do know, yeah,
yeah.
I'm not saying, but I
You're
do say, like, maybe Sebastian Stan shoulda maybe they shoulda given him another take on that.
I don't know, Jesse. You're you're making me lose trust in you.
Steve Rogers grabbing that helicopter, flexing like a son of a bitch, and Bucky's looking out the window, like, giving, like, the smoldering look, like he's, like, impressed, and when he's supposed to be in Winter
I
Soldier
think
form.
I think yes, he was impressed that that Cap was holding the helicopter in because as soon as that he tried to kill him. Like if
Yeah,
he's
that's
like
true, he did try to kill
if
him after
he's
that.
like, damn, look at this guy. He's not gonna be like, damn, look at this guy. Let me bring this helicopter blade into him, like cut an arm off.
That is true. I'm just saying the look kind of
Yeah.
gave that impression, like maybe he had a thought for a second.
No,
But
I
no,
don't
I'm
think he had a
just I'm
thought.
just saying just the way that it looked on there. But no, I'm not saying that I want that to be a thing because they were established as best friends and like purely it was a friendship relationship. It would seem
Platonic,
kind of weird
100%.
to transition it into something
Yeah.
more unnecessarily. It just never felt like those vibes occurred. Same way I don't think Loki and Sylvie will get together.
I hope
They
not.
Hope not too. But yeah, it would be interesting. I don't know. What would happen? What would your kids be like?
Their
End
kids
up
would be the ultimate mischievous kids.
That's true.
Like Loki thinks he's the god of mischief. Nah, the kids would be.
That's true. They would be pretty crazy.
Because like imagine all the tricks he can teach them versus and her she can speaking of that, how funny was when she tried to like control his mind. He's like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Stop that, it's not working.
Well, he would probably be a difficult one for her to mind control.
If
Like you're
she
saying
could
some people
she
are
couldn't.
easier than others. Well, did she ever get her hands on him?
Yeah, she had her hands on him when he was like, what are you doing, stop that, when
Oh,
like
that's right. Cause yeah, that's true.
the I think I enjoyed their banter a little bit. I
Hmm.
think that was like the highlight of episode 3.
Yeah, I like Sylvie a lot. I do enjoy her character.
I think I'm a huge Loki fan, but not like huge like some people.
Hmm.
Loki, I think, has been the best Marvel villain just because he's been able to appear in so many things and the continuity's been great. I
Hmm.
think as a villain, Killmonger and Thanos have been better though, just to put that out there. Uh but so I do enjoy watching Loki a lot.
Yeah, yeah, I'm digging both of them. Let's see. Do you have anything else on this episode?
Um, Nothing on 3. If we wanna shoot to 2, and do talk about I wanted to talk about when they were in actually, no, I already mentioned it about when he escaped from Mobius. Yeah, I talked about what was his plan, but yeah, we talked about that.
Okay. I have one last thing.
Okay. Shoot.
I just so happened to randomly pause at a certain point during the end credits of episode 3, and there was one. It was a table and it had all these photographs, and in the photographs there were pictures of Loki and Sylvie separately, but then there also was an image of them together walking on Lamentis, and there was another image of Loki in that that Lamentis outfit, that guard outfit that he conjures
Yeah.
onto himself, which I thought was interesting because I was like, okay, they were TVA files, so I was like, how does the TVA have images of this moment if they're in an apocalypse, they're not able to track. So I just found it curious. I was like, does the TVA actually know? Is this some sort of weird time thing where this is part of the, established timeline that the timekeepers expect? And I don't know. Is there maybe somebody there that was following them? I don't know. It was just interesting to me that they had pictures of these moments.
I think the timekeepers know what's going on if they're real. They
Hmm.
know. I think they just leave it for all the agents that work at the TVA to kind of sort out the mischief that people are doing.
Hmm.
So they probably knew about it and but I don't know. That's a good question.
It was just a weird one. Yeah, it really threw a wrench into everything that I've been thinking. I mean, you could chalk it up to it's just an end credit scene just for some, or, part of the credits montage, just
Mhm.
for a cool, kind of cool visual. But yeah, if it does tie in together, it just made me question, is there something more going on that we'll see in episode 4 that could establish why, if these photos are legitimate, if that's teasing the next episode of, yeah, them basically having photographic evidence of Loki and Sylvie just kind of
I
kicking
mean,
it.
it could be somebody watching from a distance like you said, and but no, it can't be the TVA because the TVA doesn't know where they are because they're in an apocalypse.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, those are the two contradicting thoughts that I have. Is like, okay, I
Yeah.
see images of Loki and Sylvie together, in one photograph from Lamentis, but also the TVA shouldn't know where they are. So
Mhm.
yeah, I don't know. I wanted to bring
That's a
it up.
nice catch though.
Yeah, it was pure luck. I was watching and then like something on my phone happened to buzz and I like hit pause real quick and then when I looked back up I was like, "Oh, that's interesting." So, yeah, I mean, I know I think in the other shows they've changed up the end credits montage like episode by
Mhm.
episode, like very subtle new differences that kind of go along with the story. So I think this was one of them. Yeah, I don't
Um,
know, it makes very intriguing.
Speaking of like credits, with the intro, how like it shapeshifts, I get
Hmm.
Zodiac Killer kind of vibes.
Yeah, I do too.
Okay, I
With
thought it
the
was just me.
letters changing, yeah,
Yeah,
almost like they're like,
symbols.
yeah, cut out of a newspaper and,
Mhm.
like those kind of things. Yeah, I know they're different, yeah, symbols, like different, uh, I don't know, alphabets. But yeah, I
Yeah,
get the same thing, and I
different
think
like
that was,
fonts.
yeah, and they said, like the director and the writer and all them, I think they said Zodiac was one of the inspirations for
Okay,
the
yeah, I
show.
think you
I
remember. I
think.
think remember hearing you say that on one episode.
See, I think I remember hearing you say Zodiac, so I'm not sure. I know I said Silence of the Lambs and Seven, I think,
Yeah.
were the two inspirations. I think Zodiac was another one of those. So,
Okay.
so I
It's crazy to
mean,
have inspiration on somebody you don't know who it is.
yeah, but I guess maybe the movies because there was a Zodiac
Yeah.
movie. So, but yeah, very interesting because I've only slightly gotten those kind of vibes through the show. Like the first episode for sure had that very eerie, mysterious vibe to it.
Mhm.
Maybe a little bit episode 2, but yeah, 3 was almost more of like I don't know, it almost felt like a very,
Buddy comedy.
yeah, a little bit. It almost felt like if they had to trim down to 5 episodes, they would take a lot of this out and maybe make it part of like the beginning of the
Mhm.
episode, and then like episode 4 could be whatever goes on at the end. You could have trimmed it down 'cause it's really just them walking through here.
Yeah,
trying to figure a way out, learning about each other. It is valuable scene still because you're learning about Loki and Sylvie, but yeah, we're on Lamentus for quite a long time.
the entire episode.
Yeah, and probably well into 4 as well.
Mhm.
When you
So,
could make that shorter if you needed to.
yeah, definitely.
But yeah, I
Uh,
guess that puts us into yeah, I don't know. I don't know where episode 2 is
do you
going.
have any ideas besides them getting off Lamentis in episode 4?
Beyond that, not anything else that we
Yeah.
haven't discussed so far. I keep hearing or I keep seeing that they're saying Miss Minutes is going to have, keep having a bigger role or more importance or show up more later on. So,
It was funny in episode 2 when he was trying to hit her.
yeah, and it does bring up question, is she like a legit
AI, or is she
AI or
real?
is
Yeah.
she some sort of real? Yeah, so that's very interesting too, because she, yeah, could go both ways. But yeah, I wouldn't have suspected like, oh yeah, Miss Minutes, I need more of her.
I
She's
need
gonna
her.
play
Yeah.
a big role. But everybody, like, I keep seeing things about Miss Minutes, so I'm like, okay, well maybe there's something with her that we need to look at too, so
Mhm.
play
That's
a
a good
bigger
point.
role.
That's a great
Also,
point.
this isn't about Loki, but do you see the stuff going on with WandaVision?
No.
Presumably or potentially Disney has altered that last scene. So I guess spoilers if you haven't seen WandaVision yet, maybe cut it off now because I'm about to talk about the ending again to it. But basically you remember the last shot where it's like kind of like you're going into the
In the cabin?
like the forest. Yeah, before you get to the cabin, there's like some shots of the lake and some of the mountains and it takes you into the mountain. Well, apparently after like some sort of Disney Plus update, people have rewatched like that last ending scene, and yeah, during those shots approaching the cabin, there's like a weird translucent image in like the top left of the screen
Mhm.
and going towards the cabin, and it's not just like a glare because it'll like move, and then once it gets like over a hill you can see a shadow of it or something. So it's weird. People are speculating that maybe Disney has inserted Doctor Strange in like an astral form floating to Wanda. If maybe they want to include something like that in the movie. It's very speculative, but apparently people have
So,
gone back and
how do
like
we know it wasn't there before and we just never saw it? How do you know,
because yeah, because I guess people have gone back and looked, and I think people recorded, when WandaVision first came out,
I'm one of
on
those people
YouTube
that
or
recorded
something.
it, so
Yeah.
I have a copy of the
Oh, you
like
should check it out then. Yeah, check it out. So the next episode you can like maybe do like a side by side and say, yeah, they changed something. Because
alright, yeah.
apparently if you go back to
I
like
think
one
I
of
still
those
have
old
it.
recorded ones, I guess the new scene is a little bit darker in its color palette, like a little bit more of a darker
No,
filter.
I don't have it anymore. I
Damn
don't
it.
I only have Falcon and Winter Soldier
Well, I'm sure other people have it online because it's been kind of like a bit of a buzz
everywhere.
topic,
Yeah.
but I haven't watched the side by side myself, or I think I looked at like two screenshots, but I haven't watched it. But yeah, I
Damn
went and
it.
looked today and I see what they're saying. There definitely is some sort of weird figure that goes in that scene. And it kind of looks like almost like the shape of a cape or maybe, the like legs crossed thing where they're like floating,
Mhm.
something like that. So there could be a scene. It would
Yeah.
be a neat little subtle change if they did that. Cuz imagine in Doctor Strange you see like from Doctor Strange's perspective, he's in like an astral form going towards the cabin and he approaches her there. It would be neat to go back at the end of WandaVision and be like, "Oh
Oh,
shit, there's
there he
freaking
is coming
Strange
in.
going over." Yeah.
Yeah.
So that would be cool.
I
I don't
think
know if that's legit. It could be one of those dumb things where they're like, "Oops, we fucked something up. We had something on the lens," or who knows.
I think that, like, takes everything Kevin Feige said about, "Oh, this white guy come and teach her magic." Like, it takes everything out what he said and just throws it out the window.
Maybe. I mean,
He, like,
for
threw shit against
one,
the wall to see what stuck.
maybe I don't know. I mean, they always originally they originally intended for Strange to show up. I mean, we know that they are going to be in the movie together.
Mhm.
Maybe he doesn't show up to teach her magic. Maybe he shows up to
To
stop her,
stop her.
or
Yeah.
yeah, who knows, or to, kind of alter her ways. I think really the ending, ignoring like the white guy coming to teach her magic thing, I do think that taking him out may have been a good idea because it does take away from Wanda because you're watching, you're like, with it just her, you're like, wow, she's really going into it. She's got the outfit, she's learning all this dark magic. There's a lot of impact centered on Wanda. where I think that would get taken away if Strange shows up. Now we're not as, excited about Wanda and watching her. Now we're focused on Strange. What's he up to? And maybe if it ends like that, people would come to the assumption that, oh, he's just showing up to teach her magic or something.
So
Maybe along those lines.
according to IMDb, they're in post production, so they've done filming it.
They're done filming Strange already?
According to IMDb,
Well, I guess they could be because that one's been pushed back like
and
everything else.
it's expected March 25, and we're like at the end of we're in the middle of the year, so usually, you know, I mean, I'm sure it's going to take like the next 9 months for just to fix the CGI to make it look like a Marvel movie. So
I
it
guess
makes
that's
sense.
true. Yeah. So I could see it. I mean, who knows if they did legitimately change something? Because apparently one of the other big changes is that now at the end credits, there's some sort of credit to a score, specifically from Doctor Strange, and it even says Doctor
Hmm.
Strange that was added into it. So maybe
Interesting.
yeah. So that kind of adds a little bit more fuel to that fire. So I don't know. I mean, maybe they're
If
doing
this
some
is
sort of
true,
reshoots
if
or.
this is true, I wonder how many more times Disney's going to do that. Be like, oh, we dropped this, but hey, 6 months later, we're going to add a little Easter egg into here for you to go back. You know what? That's like another marketing idea,
Mhm.
so that people come back and rewatch your episodes. So now I have to go back and rewatch that episode of WandaVision, or I have to go
Maybe.
back and rewatch an episode of Captain America. I mean
Well,
Falcon and Winter Soldier, because they might add something else. Like it's a marketing idea to get your views up for some reason.
it could be if you're counting a view just for that. I mean, you could do what I did was click on WandaVision and then skip all the way for just those
But
like 10 seconds. So you
but
didn't get a full
y-
episode view out of me. I just
but you
watched.
get something like a click rate or whatever.
That's true. I don't know if that helps them necessarily because it's not like they're getting new subscribers. Like they don't
Hmm.
have ads running, so it's not like some sort of financial gain unless you're just trying to pad the viewer count to say
Yeah,
like, "Oh yeah, we got this many views on Wanda." I think it really is more of a I think it would be like, "Oh, wouldn't it be fun if we had, a little Doctor Strange tease because in the movie we do have
yeah,
them meet here." It would be fun. People would go back after watching Doctor Strange and Multiverse of Madness to see, "Oh, can I see Strange in the background? Oh shit, I can." Something
yeah,
like that would be fun. And if it's just on Disney Plus, I'm totally fine if they make updates like that. Like
yeah.
that's
That's what I said. Like I'm cool with it too. It's just I
mhm.
wonder if it's just a way to get views up,
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I'm
which I'm
not as
fine with. I
pessimistic
don't
as
care.
you. I'm more into I think they see it as an opportunity to add a cool Easter egg. Or maybe they wanted to do that before, but they were nervous, about Strange showing up and
Hmm.
diluting the whole thing if people caught it. So maybe now they're like, okay, maybe it isn't that big of a deal. We can
Who
have a
gives a fuck?
translucent Strange. Yeah.
Yeah,
So yeah, I'm cool with it. But yeah, I thought that would be fun to
yeah. It's
bring
super
up if
neat.
that is legit thing. Yeah, go back and check it out and
I am.
let me know what you think.
All right. Well, anything else to add for this episode?
I think that's all from me.
All right. Well, this is thanks for watching. We'll be back next week. Remember to like, subscribe, rate us 5 stars. Watch our videos, everything that you can do to help us succeed.
Yeah, we appreciate you for listening, and we will see you in the next one.
Peace out.